So let's talk about learning and why learning together is so much more essential than learning by yourself. Like when you think about it as a child, you learn through other people, right? You mimic your parents, you mimic your friends, you mimic your other relatives, the kids that you grow up with, that you learn from. We always learn with each other, right? But when we actually do it consciously, like in a class or in a workshop where we go work with others and we learn together, there's something else that actually happens as well. And that is when you learn by yourself and you read something or you hear something, you can think about it, but when you actually speak it, different parts of your neurology get activated. And there's a saying in neuroscience that neurons that fire together wire together. So when you actually speak about something that you just learned, it goes in much, much deeper because you now have all these other aspects of your brain that come into play as well and that also wire this experience. And then if you have someone who's actually actively listening to you even more, then you can begin to have a mutual transformation moment. And if you think about it in so many ways, our reality is co-created anyway. Right? In the 60s, people started talking about socially constructed reality. There isn't a fixed reality out there that we're perceiving, but we're constantly co-creating this reality with each other. Right? And we test our beliefs, we refine our stories, we grow our identities through this interaction. And this is how, when you learn in community, you're constantly updating your own internal maps, right? And you do it faster and more powerfully than if you did it by yourself. Of course, for that, it requires a certain level of psychological safety, right? And psychological safety, I'd like to make sure that we say it's not a safe space necessarily. It's also some place where you might be uncomfortable, but it's okay to be there. And you're not going to get ridiculed for making a mistake. You're not going to be, laughed at. You can be yourself. You can even throw in some crazy things and you won't be judged for it, right? And where people don't treat you for who you've been, but for who you've become, right? And this is really the core of what I call transformational relationships or transformational relating, is really that you go in assuming that we're both verbs. We're not nouns. We're not static. We're not just something that is what it is, because that is the mental circuit, right? The rational somatic circuit, that where you have your name. Oh, Philip is this. I want Philip to be associated with these things. And that's sort of static. Right? But to understand that Philip's always changing and you're always changing, right? You're constantly evolving and constantly growing by default, right? You're constantly shedding new skin cells, building new cells in your body. You're constantly going through waves of different emotions, different thoughts. And so is the other person. And when we understand that the other person is that too, we both treat each other as verbs, right? And we go into this connection, into this relationship with that understanding, both pay attention to emergence. Right? And this is the magic that happens when two people get together, or multiple people get together, is that you have emergence. There's something new coming in, a question that's in the room that wouldn't be there unless you two were together or unless you were in this group together. Right? And so there's emergence that also happens only when we are with other people. And it's in that space that real creativity happens. It's that space that innovation happens. It's a space where new things can come in. And again, through the relationship with someone else, there's a space in between. In Japanese, there's a beautiful word called awai. And a friend of mine was doing a conference on that whole idea of the space in between, right? Because this is really where the magic happens. Because in the end, transformation is not something that you do, but something that you become.